Welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and it is show number 224. Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Good to see you. It's September 2022. Happy to be on. Proud member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, live here on Facebook or on iTunes or wherever you are taking in your podcast. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for being part of Education, Leadership, Beyond. We are meeting an inspirational author today, a principal, a former college hoops player. Got a lot in common in Pennsylvania here with me. I'm working on my pronunciation. In the Italians, we don't have Bauermaster, but I'm working on that. Zach Bauermaster here. He's going to be our guest today, doing great things in Pennsylvania and beyond. And really wrote a motivating book, wrote a inspiring book. My virtual background is blocking me a little bit, but here it is. Leading with a Humble Heart. And we're going to talk to Zach about that, about his writing and his faith, certainly. So we'll get started with that in a minute. I do want to thank Havesies Cookies. They are sponsoring today's show. If you've been with me a while, you know Havesies has been with me a while too. Zach's got 3 little kids, beautiful kids, and we're going to send them some Havesies cookies. Check them out. Discount code Murata15. And the holidays are coming. The fall is coming. Pumpkin spice and all that good stuff. Check out Havesies cookies. You could ship them to somebody. They're vacuum sealed, and literally they are half cookies, and they are phenomenal. I want to thank my friend David Maffei for his company, and that discount code is Murata15. Check them out, havesiescookies.com. All right, it is show number 224. Happy to be with you, and let's get rolling. The opening concept here, the pandemic affected a lot of people in a lot of ways, and some good things came out of it, but certainly a lot of bad. And one of the things, right, you stopped going to church in person. For those that know me, I volunteered in Italy for a year with the Catholic Church. I thought about becoming a Catholic priest. And I knew my wife when she was 17 and we dated and high school sweethearts, and I went in a different direction. But I always felt that calling, and I always kind of felt I could do the work through kids and schools and people, right? Living a good life and being a good person and trying to help others. And I kind of got out of the routine of going to church, to be honest here, to be full disclosure and some vulnerability. And it's been tugging at me. And I've started going back and, reading Zach's book here, Leading with a Humble Heart, really kind of refocused my faith and kind of opened my ears and eyes a little bit to maybe what I wasn't listening to. So, if you are a servant leader, you serve in schools and your faith, whatever your religion is, listen. Get there and listen and make those quiet times. Zach in the book talks a lot about making time for God, making time for prayer, making time to have those deep thoughts. So I want to thank Zach for his writing and his book and certainly with Jimmy Casas and the work they're doing. So let's bring him into the show. Enough of me chit-chatting. He's zipping over from school and running back to a school board meeting. There he is. Zach, welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond.
Thank you very much. You got me hungry talking about those cookies, especially sending them to my kids. My kids know, and my wife knows this too. They hide candy and cookies from me. I'll go after them. I'll look for them. But it's
it'll be addressed to you. So hopefully you get to open the envelope.
All right, perfect. They'll be wanting it, but I'm going to enjoy all. I eat desserts in bulk. My wife says I don't know the word. She always says moderation, Zach. I say I don't know the word moderation. I'm all in on the cookies.
Well, you're all in on leadership. You're all in on writing. You're all in on your school. I want to welcome you to the program and certainly thank you for making time for that. Zach, we're going to get to know you over the show, but give a quick introduction here for our audience.
Yeah, very good. So Zach Bauermaster, I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the southern part of the county, Quarryville, Pennsylvania, born and raised. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, Carly, and we have 3 beautiful children. Olivia, who is 10, and she's in 5th grade. Elliot is, man, I forgot her age for a second there, 7, and she's in 2nd grade. Isaac just entered kindergarten. So my family means so much to me, and I'm a firm believer in leading my family first. I never feel good if I know I'm not doing an effective job leading my family and I'm heading off to be principal at Kissel Hill Elementary. And so I'm the proud principal at Kissel Hill Elementary School in Lidditz, Pennsylvania. And a little bit background on my education. I started as a high school social studies teacher, taught 3 years, then 5 years as a 7th grade social studies teacher. My first admin job was a hybrid role as in a high school assistant principal in Manheim Central. But I was also blessed, and it was a huge blessing to me. I was the K-12 online learning coordinator. So coordinated the online instruction, which was huge during the pandemic. And then I served 1 year as an assistant principal at Doe Run Elementary in Manheim Central. And now I'm in my 2nd year as principal at Kissel Hill Elementary. So that's a little bit about my family and my work. Like you said in the opening, I love sports and played a lot of basketball growing up. So I played at Millersville, and I saw it show 224. My basketball number was 24, so I'll take it.
Nice. There you go. Well, maybe we should have had you on 200 shows ago, but I'm glad we got you now. Zach, tell me about getting started. You're in your 2nd year at Kissel Hill. So what's different in year 2 than when you first started?
Great question. And I think the biggest, obviously the impact of COVID is a little different as we start this year, but I think just seeing things through a second time. Obviously, once again, this year, my focus is on people, and it certainly was last year. But I was telling a guy I worked with today, Mr. Mays, I said, you just sort of see things differently a second year through. And that's been great as you're working with the people, as you're working with the different programs, as you're connected with the families. So it's great to connect with the families. And we had a back to school night and just had a huge showing. And that's been a huge part of it too. So I think just those connections that you build with the families, with the community, with the teachers, and bringing that all together to keep the child at the center of it. So really been able to focus on how can we continue to grow and make things better. And a word I've been thinking about, like you can talk leadership all you want and have these great ideas, but how is it actionable? So I'm really trying to find ways to make it more actionable now, whether that's following up, implementing things with PBIS, whether it's school culture, whether it's supporting a teacher, just really how can we take things and make them more actionable?
That's a great word there, Zach. And I got my notepads, I got my reminders, I got my walkie-talkie, all the tools we use. Tell me about your role as a leader. How do you go about planning your day of, I'm going to do this in the first part of the day, I'm going to get these important items done? What is your scheduling manner to take action on those items?
Always a work in progress with this, but I think the first thing we can do is identify when we're at our best and when we're freshest. For me, that's earlier in the morning. So if I need to do something with work that's creative, planning, I try to do that first thing in the morning where I can be most creative, where I can get some of that uninterrupted time. But as I do that, the method I use this year is a little bit different. I've been using sticky notes. So I know what I need to do each day, and I have sticky notes sitting there on my desk. And once I finish that task, I'll go ahead and I'll throw that sticky note out. So that's been beneficial for me because I think it's important to realize as leaders, and I talk about that in my book. We want to try to find a way to control the first part of our day. And that's why I like to get up early. That's when I'm freshest. I know for other people that's later. But then as we dive into the day, that's when I need to be available for people. And that's where you're really being a servant and really helping support teachers, and you're helping to support students, because in the role of a principal, it changes every day. And as I'm driving in today, even as you're driving in, sometimes you'll be getting phone calls and messages of people who are going to be out that day. So then you're aligning, you're getting people in the right spots to get the day up and running. I thought about this on my way up. So sometimes as a principal, at the beginning of the day or whatever you're doing, it can seem so hectic, but I always picture the end of the day and saying to myself, it's okay. It was all okay. Like you get to that point where you get your day up and running. And sometimes you feel like, whoa, how's this puzzle going to fall together today? And you have great people around you. You work at it. That puzzle comes together. You get in the middle of the day. You're like, all right, we're working through it here. And at the end of the day, you're like, you know what? It was all okay. We might have to do that all again tomorrow, but it was all okay. And that's where, and then as you get throughout your day, you check the flow of your day. Are you really supporting a kid? Some days you can be in a behavior all day. Some days it might open up and you can get in through some walkthroughs, spend some time with teachers, with instruction. So those are some of the things I look at throughout the course of my day.
I love it, man. Keep rolling, keep leading. And, it's important, the role we do. Zach, I want to thank you for getting me a copy of this book, and congratulations here. It's fantastic. Not only is the content great, it feels great. It's smooth. The cover is beautiful. The colors. Tell me, what was your inspiration here? Leading with a humble heart, a 40-day devotional for leaders. Tell me about your inspiration here to write this book.
I've always been a journaler. I've always just sort of liked to spend that early time journaling in scripture, and it was 2015, 2016. I actually, like, my life had always gone as planned. Things had gone well. I got married, went to college, graduated, got married, had kids. And in 2015, 2016, I actually started to battle. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I was battling some anxiety, and I didn't know what it was. And it was just an off feeling. And I was like, man, I'm not feeling right. But I was trying to internalize it the whole time. Like, man, I got to be strong. I got to be strong for my family. I got to be strong for my job. But it was a tough year, and I was really battling it mentally. But during that time, I really went to the scriptures. I went to the Word of God. I was journaling, and that was really a transformational time where, even though it seemed like a really difficult situation, I know God was softening and shaping my heart for what was ahead. And so, in my leadership, like as a dad, as a husband, in my work as a principal, I'm a firm believer, and one of my mantras is it's all about people. And I like to think of the acronym, and the P is prioritizing people. And the first person we need to prioritize is ourselves. And what we need to prioritize, exercise, nutrition, all of that's really good. But first and foremost, we need to prioritize our hearts. And for me, and it's certainly being in alignment with God's heart. I love thinking about David, a man after God's own heart. So when we have our hearts in the right spot to serve, we can go out there and serve our families. We can go out there and serve our schools and our families. But for me, it really starts with heart. And that's why I love the verse about how Jesus would wake up early in the morning and find a quiet place to pray. Or Jesus, crowds would be following him, but he would step away to be in solitude with his heavenly Father. And those are some of the things I try to model and live out, because I know how important it is for me to keep my heart in alignment so I can lead fruitfully others, and I can give them my very best.
Great stuff, Zach. When did you realize I got a book here, or I could write a book? When did that hit?
Yeah, so it was actually I got surgery on my foot. I had plantar fasciitis, and I got surgery. Ooh. And so I was off for a couple of days, like a longer weekend. And I thought, I had all these ideas. Like I read leadership books all the time. I listen all the time. There's so many great things. And I'm like, all these pieces are in the Bible. And I was like, how can I combine something where you have these leadership attributes, whether it be delegating, whether it be, the concept of prioritizing people, servant leadership. And I thought, how can I combine those? So then I just started to write, and I hit a good flow writing. Like I said, early in the morning is when I'm most creative. So I just took some of these verses, and I thought about personal stories in my life. A lot of it, there's a lot of different quotes from other people. There's quotes from podcasts. And then I tie that into some of those biblical stories as well. So then I had this, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I reached out to a guy I knew that had written some books, and I said, hey, I have this, but now I don't know what to do. So we had some good conversations, and I would love to give advice on different avenues to writing a book, and I'm sure you could as well. But then you talk about, are there literary agents? Do you reach out to? Do you self-publish or not? So I had a great conversation just learning some of those things. And then Jonathan Alsheimer, I shared like a preface of it on Twitter, and there seemed to be a good response to it. And so I was communicating with him, and he said, let me see if I can help out a little bit. And then a little bit later, I had a message from Jimmy Casas saying he wanted to meet. I was like, whoa, this culturized, this guy I've looked up to.
Got the call from the big guy.
Yeah. So he sends me this message, and he's like, hey, I'd love to meet. I hear you're working on something. Love to learn more about it. But if you don't want to, that's okay. He said something like that. I said, no, definitely. So we actually met the next evening. And there I have this meeting. I'm with Jimmy Casas. I'm with Jeffrey Zuhl. And I don't know. I know my work is faith-based. And I know it's a specific like education, audience publishing company. So I was like, I don't know where this will go. And so I just started asking questions, and something Jimmy shared with me that I'll always take with me, even when I'm creating anything. He says, what's different about what you're working on? The leadership market's flooded, the book market's flooded. A lot of people want to get books out there, but what's different about it? Like, what's going to captivate an audience here? And that's something that has stood with me. And I think that's what caught Jimmy's attention as well. Hey, this book, it's different. It's a little bit different. So that's a little setup then about how the book came to be. There was that time I wasn't sure exactly what to do. And then, God is good, and he opened up some doors, and there I'm meeting with Jimmy, and then he published it, and they moved through the process very quickly. And it was really neat to have a summer release at a time when people are, especially in education, it's not just for educators, but in education, when people are on a break, they're looking for some books, they're ready to gear up for another school year. So the timing of it worked out very well.
Yeah. Well, God's also a good designer, because the book is well put together. I love the short kind of chapters. You don't feel burdened by a long one. Day number 7, the generations to come. I love it. You tell a story about riding in the car overnight with your dad driving and talking and learning from your dad, and now him, giving you that skill about doing that, you taking your own family.
Yeah.
But then you talk about, passing on your faith and good habits and all of that. Tell me about day 7, the generations to come.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think about it, and I'm so blessed. Like, when I think about it in the opening, I dedicate it to my 2 late grandfathers who passed away within the last year. And I just think about those people in our lives, especially family, that really, set the tone, say, like, that leadership, that faith that they really carried, and they had people ahead of them and just really passed that down. There's so many things we can pass down to one another, but it's just so important to pass down that faith where I want my son, and I say that he's 5 right now. So sometimes I'll be with him one-on-one, and I try to get really deep. And I said, I'm just like, Isaac, I want you to be a man after God's own heart. And I pray that you're a man after God's own heart. And it's not just Isaac. It's with, I tell my daughters, Olivia and Elliot, I dedicate it to them as well. And I just say, be different. Like, just be different out there. The world's going to tell you what you should be and what you should do. And I just encourage them. I love the song by Micah Tyler, Be Different. And I want to pass that on to my kids, because I know my family, my parents, Scott and Susie, there hasn't been a day that I haven't known Jesus. And I want my kids to experience that as well. And I want their kids and grandkids, Lord willing, to continue to pass that down for generations, because there will come a time people don't know who I am, and they might look and say, who's this old guy in this old picture? But just passing down, that they know Jesus in their heart as their Lord and Savior.
I love it. My son, he's 14. He said to me, he's listening, right? He's looking at my eyes and I'm talking similarly.
Yeah.
He'll say, Dad, is this one of your leadership?
Yeah.
Yes, Matthew, it is.
Sometimes it's always so humbling too. I'll have my son. I'm like, all right, let's pray. He's like, no, I don't want to pray. And
the game's on, Dad.
Yeah, you're down right beside him. Yeah.
Zach, tell me about that balance with your family. You're an author, you're on podcasts, you're leading your school, again, taking care of your wife, your family. How do you balance all of that with spending time with your family, with exercising, like you wrote the word prioritize there? How do you balance it all?
Again, always a work in progress. This year, my wife said to me, she said, hey, whatever you're doing to start this school year, keep doing it. And that was really encouraging to me, because we've had some rough patches. Last year was rough as far as, like, I try to use the word a lot, rhythm, like finding a family work rhythm. And last year with COVID in a new position, it did lay some challenges on relationships at home. And you really do, like you said, you have to prioritize it. So I just, today I was actually thinking about this. You almost have to come to a realization that you can't do it all. And I think too many times we just want to do everything that we can. Like, work is always going to be there. And I feel it in the morning sometimes when I know I didn't give my family my all the evening before or the weekend before. Like, I'll feel that as I'm heading into work, when I know that I didn't give them my all. So I think part of it is being present. And again, that's an area I need to work at even more. I love the quote, be where your feet are. So when I'm with my family, being with them and being intentional with them. when I'm at work, being where my feet are and being intentional, because more than ever, work and home are blended. Like you go to work, something's happening at home, you hear about it, working through it, or you're at home, work's coming home too. So it's really trying to be as intentional as we can be. But I think also prioritizing that exercise. Like I used to work out when I taught, I would work out for an hour after school. I had a workout partner. And I think sometimes I need to get back into that hour when really I can do 15 to 20 minutes in the morning to really get me going with that stage of life. So we know our rhythms, we know our families, we know our stages of life, and it's different for everyone. And I think, unfortunately, too often we compare to other people, whether we think they're not working hard enough or they're working too much, and we watch other people, but everyone's in a different rhythm. Everyone's in a different stage of life, but it is so essential. And I always want my family to remember me as, hey, he was always there when we needed me. If I could share a story, last summer I met with a mentor of mine. He's not in education. He is a nonprofit, Hope International and Keystone Custom Homes. But I was sitting there, and he almost was like, hey, you're being really hard on yourself here. And he said, I want to challenge you with something. He said, I want you to go home and I want you to write 2 letters to yourself as if it's 20 years from now. And I want one letter to be, you look back on, hey, things went well, that things went as you set out to be. And I want you to write another letter where you look back with regret and you made some different mistakes. So I went home that weekend and I actually wrote it from the perspective of my oldest daughter. So she's 10 now. She was 9 when I wrote it. So it was as if she was 29. And it was like I got 2 letters from her that I was reading. And so I wrote one like, hey, Dad, I know you were doing so much. Thanks for always being there. And, a lot more detailed than that. But then another letter where it was some regret. And it would be my daughter saying, hey, I know a lot of people were pulling at you, but there were times we needed you some more at home. And I know you meant a lot to a lot of people, but Mom needed you during this time. And I actually went back to those letters last fall because I realized I was falling into that letter of regret. So I think it's always good to that's part of what the book's about. Always just stopping, pausing, thinking through different things, reassessing. How are we doing? What season are we in right now? How do we adjust? How do we need to communicate? So that was a powerful exercise for me. And I'd encourage anyone to do that as well.
That is, it is, Zach. And mine are a little older now, and my kids finally gave me some room in the house. I said, kids, I have my 4th book coming out. You think I can have a desk maybe? And but I heard the basketball bouncing out in the yard the other day, and I was typing, writing,
Yeah.
And I just stopped typing on the computer, and I said, and I went out there, and I'm glad to be listening for that ball, and it goes quick, right?
So just Sunday night, we were on my way home from visiting my grandmother, and in the car, I told my wife, I want 30 minutes before dinner to set the stage for my week. Just give me 30 minutes. And then we go in and the kids have Uno out and they're like, do you want to play? Ooh. And in a way, my wife was telling me to do my work. She wants them to play on their own a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't go do my work right now. My 3 kids are right here and they want to play Uno with me on a Sunday night. Like I will be able to take care of that half hour worth of work. I'll be able to do that. But I have my kids right there. They're never going to be this exact age anymore. So I appreciate that story you shared about the basketball. It just pauses you every once in a while. And you're like, huh, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach, I cherish my mornings also. And I try to get a lot accomplished in that. What are some of your morning routine hacks? What are some of your morning strategies to get those things in and get up and get ready for work?
Yeah, I pride myself on getting up early. I know it's not for everyone. So I like that 4:30, 4:45 where you're up nice and early. My wife does a nice job of setting the coffee machine. So I come out, pour a nice cup of black coffee every morning. And we don't have an office either. So my wife and I always joke, we have a corner in the kitchen that's piled up with my journals and books, all different things going on. But I have this chair that I sit at every morning and it's nice and dark. I love this time of year too, where you hear the crickets out there on these cooler fall mornings. And I sit down. Sometimes I just pause and sort of gauge where I am at mentally. do I wake up right away feeling like, oh, I'm exhausted, I don't want to do this? But then I have my Bible right there. I have my journal right there, and I'll open up and I'll start diving into some scripture and journaling and really just getting thoughts out for the day, get thoughts out of reflection. I've started to use a 5-year journal. I don't know if you've seen them. They're really nice, where you don't write too much, but they're set up so you can look back at where you were a year ago. And then, so for example, in 4 years, I'll be able to look back what I did 3 years before that. And in this week I was looking at, it was last year at this time, it was a really tough COVID year with COVID week with quarantining. And I was like, whoa. But it's really neat to see that. So then I will go ahead and just have some of that quiet time there with the Lord. And then I've been really trying to get back in the habit of like a 20-minute exercise routine. So I'll either lift weights, I'll go for a walk, do a little bit of cardio to really get my blood flowing for the day. Because I've also found I like to work out at night, but with where my family is, and we talk about the rhythm of life, it just doesn't work out as I get home. Like it doesn't work where I get home. The kids are waiting for me. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go work out right now. I have a setup in my basement. That's a change I made. So just gradually building a home gym, but that's a huge part of my morning routine as well. And something I've learned over time is, when I first got into administration, I thought I had to rush out the door. I thought I had to get that first email out there as early as could be. And I realized you don't have to do that. And so I'll even really feel out how things are going at home. Sometimes there's times I realize, hey, I need to go. My wife has a spot where she sits in the morning. Sometimes I just need to go sit right there beside her and catch up on, hey, how we doing this week? What's coming up? How are you? And so just being really attentive to the needs there of my wife as well.
Awesome stuff, Zach. I'm enjoying this, and certainly it's good to hear those reminders. And I have that journal, and I've gotten away from doing it, so I'm going to get back to it. Zach, before we get to rapid fire, what was something that you wanted to share that I did not ask you?
Great question. I've appreciated your questions because they've really dug into the heart of who I am and who I'm trying to be. So I appreciate that, and I just think it's so important as we're out in leadership roles, and I'm a big believer in everyone's a leader. So we have all influence in different ways, but really continuing to prioritize people in what we do. So, prioritizing a heart so we can prioritize people. And then if I break down my acronym a little bit more, when we get to know people, then the E, we can empathize with them because we know them. We know their desires, we know their struggles, so we can empathize with them. And then the O is, we need to be able to, as I talk about even with my family in the morning, observe then what they need, because everyone just isn't the same. It's that whole idea of reading the room, the thermostat versus thermometer leadership, balcony and the dance floor, observing what people need. And then being purposeful in maintaining those relationships as well. Because if you want effective relationships, if you want fruitful relationships, we have to work at them every day. And then the L and the E, or the L is love people and encourage people. And I'm a huge believer in encouragement. 1 Thessalonians 5:11, therefore encourage one another just as the fact you're doing. So building each other up in all that we're doing. So I think that's just so important, but it's so easy as leaders. And I've been there many times, and I always have to catch myself to get caught up in just leading what's big and what's visible. And there's all those little moments. And I talk about it in the book. I have a quote from Paul Tripp that our life's full of mundane little moments. And sometimes in leadership roles, we don't like necessarily those mundane little moments, but they're what's also preparing us for the big moments. So really embracing those little moments. I talk often about little moments, and I think about that at work, what I'm seeing at school, and with my family as well. So I really appreciate being able to talk about people and really being able to talk about the heart and having a heart for people.
I love it. Prioritize, empathize, observe, purposeful, love, and encourage.
You got it. Yeah, you got it.
Awesome stuff. I never heard an acronym in the word people before, but that's pretty good, Zach.
Yeah.
All right, Zach, these are rapid fire. These are quick questions. Right. First thing that comes to your head, are you ready?
I'll give it a try. Let's go.
Let's roll. We're going to go faster than your family eating those Habsies cookies. Here we go. What's the last book you read?
Last book I read was The Gift of Disillusionment, and it was by Peter Greer. And Oh, it's rapid fire. Sorry, I tried to talk too much. Go ahead. Gift edition. Also, I got a Bob Golf book recently where I did the 1-page thing, and I haven't got any further. But Undistracted. So
Undistracted.
yeah.
Last movie you saw?
Last movie I saw, I watched Zootopia on Sunday with my kids.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
Good movie. Judy Hobbs does a nice job.
Favorite dish?
Favorite dish? I love a home casserole that my mom and my wife make called chicken and grits. So that's my favorite dish. Big cheeseburger and French fry fan as well.
You don't look like you eat a lot of cheeseburgers and French fries. That's for sure. Your favorite place to travel?
Favorite place to travel. So I have 2 places that mean a lot to me. Cape May, New Jersey, spent a lot of time there with family. And St. Petersburg, Florida, have a lot of good memories there with family as well.
Nice. He said the word family 400 times this podcast. It obviously resonates again with the heart. Your go-to administrative tool is?
Listen. I think it's just listen. So I keep track. Sometimes I'm like, you run through your head, who do I need to touch base with? That's that whole idea, observe. Like always thinking, all right, who haven't I checked in? Who do I need to listen to? So listen.
A journal or blog you subscribe to?
So I would say one of the blog, this might seem like a shameless plug, but I love reading Jimmy Casas' blog on Connect Ed. He just had a great blog out where he was talking about that story of the coffee bean. But I really appreciate him tying in like that educational leadership, but then also, general leadership as well.
Yeah.
Focused on
it's fantastic. And I love his podcast too.
Yep.
You shared a lot of passions. You shared a lot of positivity. What's a pet peeve of yours? Something that gets under your skin?
So as a positive person, and I know we often hear of maybe this is what it would be, toxic positivity, where people say that, and I don't want to ever come across that way as well. I understand, hey, things are tough, but so sometimes when you're working with situations where there is a little more negativity, there's another time where you just have to pause and take a step back. But like that the whole concept of, hey, it's going to be okay, but understanding that everyone's not coming up at it from the same perspective.
Yeah. A recent victory.
I'm going to share this. We've Kissel Hill Elementary holds 2 autistic support classrooms in the building. Tremendous challenge, but even more than a challenge, opportunity. And we have just been seeing some teachers, support staff, and kids and families thrive in those classrooms. And I'm just so encouraged by that.
Great answer, man. At 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, I feel, fill in the blank.
I feel ready. I'm going to say it again. I feel ready to spend some time with family.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How often do people spell your name wrong?
Fairly frequently, I'll get the Bower. So that's a little more popular where we are in Lancaster County. Bauermaster. My dad's from Western PA, Shanksville, PA, and it's a German name, but we get a lot of Bower, MAST.
And how about the K on the front name or the H?
Oh yeah, no, I get that all the time. Yeah. So it's just ZAC. So actually, when you had me look at that at the beginning of the show, I didn't even double check that. Nice job. I get the C and the K. I get the H and the K a lot, but it is just ZAC.
It's not that hard when your name's on an awesome book like this. So. All right. Well, you just said Western PA, so I think I know the answer. But Steelers or Eagles?
I'm Eagles. Eagles. Yeah. I have family with a lot of ties to the Steelers, but I'm Eagles. I'm a fantasy football fan. That messed me up in team sports a little bit, but I'm an Eagles fan.
Phillies or Pirates?
Phillies.
Oh my goodness. It's going to be tough for you and I to be close. I'm going to send you a copy of Tales from the Hardwood. Philadelphia fans are the toughest ones, man.
Yeah. This past summer, we were in St. Petersburg, and I want to start going to some baseball stadiums. So we saw the Rays, and they were playing the Pirates.
Okay.
So I got to see the Pirates and Rays down in St. Pete.
little black and gold there. 2 words to describe yourself.
One word I'm going to say is steadfast. I think my wife would describe me as steadfast, that dutifully firm, unwavering. Hey, a lot of different things are going to be going on, but I'm going to be right there, even though maybe at times she and others want a little bit more out of me. Steadfast. And I'm going to use a word. So this was almost the title of the word. So I'm going to pull a stretch and I'm going to stretch this one, but humble confidence. And it was almost called Leading with the Heart of Humble Confidence. And just, being confident, but understanding that confidence comes from an underlying humbleness that I can do nothing on my own apart from God. So sent out to be confident in God and lead other people. But as I said, humble enough to know apart from him, I can do nothing.
Beautiful. One thing you're curious about.
One thing I'm curious about, I'm curious about this next phase of life as my kids become teenagers, as I start to get a little bit older, that again, a new phase of life. I feel like I've been at this phase of life for a really long time. All 3 kids under 10. We've been here for a while. It's the only thing I know in life, but we're about to now enter the 10 to 20s. And I want to thrive during those years.
Surviving and thriving, baby. Zach, I got your website here below. You were fantastic today. How can people get in touch with you?
So ZachBauermaster.com is the website. Also Twitter, Instagram @ZBauermaster. And you can also find me on Facebook as well.
Yeah, cool. Zach, you have a quote? You said a lot of wonderful things today. Do you have a favorite quote you want to end us with?
I'm going to one that just I always have to go back to, and it's from Craig Rochelle. Small disciplines done consistently lead to big results over time.
Say that one more time.
Small disciplines done consistently lead to big results over time. And that's that. If you're thinking about writing a book, don't just picture the end product. You have to start somewhere. If you're thinking about working out, you don't have to think, oh, I need to do this for 21 days. Win one day at a time. Whether you're struggling with eating or not, the small disciplines done daily. And as I said, I'm not perfect at it, but it's something I always need to remind myself about.
Zach Bauermaster, Pennsylvania. Zach, you were great here today. Guys, check out his book here, Leading with the Humble Heart, produced through Connect Ed Publishing, Jimmy Casas. So, Zach, I appreciate a few minutes today, and you got one person inspired here. If you reach somebody.
Yeah, hey, that's all that matters. And I really appreciate your time. I appreciate the platform to be able to talk about some things I'm passionate about, connect and learn from you as well. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, check him out, guys. His website is there. And Zach, appreciate you coming on. I am Andrew Murata at Andrew Murata 21. And if I could help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. This is show number 224. We're going to sign off. Again, here's these cookies. The Bauermaster family is going to get a package here this week. But check them out. Murata 15 is that discount code. Zach, hang tight. I'll be right with you. We're going to sign off here, everyone, on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. Surviving and thriving. Bam.